There's very few experiences like it. To run out in front of 80,000 people, it's probably as close as you can get to being like a modern day gladiator without the real downsides of having your head cut off.
And that's big Daniel Vickerman.
I first met Dan in 2002. We played together at the Wallabies, and you know, what you saw was what you got with Dan.
Australian rugby is in mourning with former Wallabies forward Dan Vickerman found dead in his Sydney home.
He leaves behind a wife and 2 children.
He was described as a man who was rock hard on the outside and soft as butter on the inside.
It's hard to put into words exactly how shocked I was. You know, it never crossed my mind that he was the kind of guy that was going through what he was obviously going through.
In February this year, Australians were shocked to learn that rugby great Dan Vickerman had taken his own life at just 37. It wasn't the first time that the rugby community had lost one of their own.
Rick obviously thought, you know, he couldn't be helped.
Rugby change rooms may not be the first place you'd expect to find men opening up about mental health. But since a tragic loss, this group of mates is hoping to change that.
Boys, just quickly, this weekend you guys are playing in Prem Gate for the Rick Tyrrell Cup. Rick was a very, very good friend of mine.
Rick wore his heart on his sleeve, like, you know, he was very genuine. I always kind of looked up to him and what he'd done in his life.
Rick Tyrrell played rugby for Queensland and a Japanese club before he retired and began a career in radio.
Rick had 3 kids, he was 39. He was in line to be a general manager of a big radio station in Brisbane. Rick had some mental health issues that we didn't know about. He never told us, and he drank himself to death.
I myself had a bit of trouble with depression. He was one of the first people I talked to. The hardest thing for me has been thinking that I could talk to him and that for some reason he couldn't talk to me. So it's been upsetting.
Rugby is a really big man sport. We don't talk to blokes, we don't tell them what our problems are. I think if we think we've got an issue, we're weak.
Your aim is to stay on the field, to be tough. But I don't think it's isolated to rugby.
I think it comes down a lot to maybe that deep-seated masculine ego that if I say that there's something wrong, then it means I failed.
After Rick's death, 8 of his closest mates came together to launch the Rick Tyrrell Cup. The aim was to get players talking about mental health.
And just to let you know, boys, if anyone's got any issues or problems and that as well, the whole goal is try to get people talking with each other. So boys, this game this weekend's about Rick. Mate, I'm a Sunnybank man, so I hope you fucking smash him on the weekend.
Today, just like to announce that I'm retiring from the game.
After playing 63 tests for Australia, Dan Vickerman retired from rugby in 2012.
He was almost like the model for how to transition out of sport. He went to Cambridge, got a degree, he was always super proactive about establishing himself post-rugby.
But since his death, friends have spoken publicly about the challenges Vickerman faced in retirement. It's a story close to home for former teammate Clyde Rathbone.
I remember being invited into the coach's office when I was 27 and him telling me that there's no contract on the table for next year. And that was not at all how I envisaged my career ending up. And so I left with a lot of disappointment and regret and not really sure how to reframe who I was. Just sunk progressively into a more severe depression over time. It was like having a grand piano on your chest. And it's not a feeling of sadness or disappointment or despair, it's so much as a numbness. I remember just thinking about one day driving off a bridge. I could no longer pretend that something wasn't severely wrong here. Something that no one ever said to me in the entire time I played was that the transition is difficult. That's why we have to have this conversation. We can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result.
If you break your leg, there's a process. You get to rehab, return to play when your mind is broken. To me, it felt like, well, you just go and deal with that, and when you're good, come back.
In 2014, Kirby Sefor was offered a full-time contract by the Australian Rugby Union to play for the National Rugby Sevens team.
The end goal was gold medal in Rio, so we all knew that that's what we were gunning for. I probably couldn't pinpoint when things started to go wrong, but there was a lot of pressure with trainings and selections. I had a long distance relationship, and then I guess for women, there's funding. The financial stresses that I was trying to deal with, it definitely contributed to my stress and my anxiety of how I was going to get to the next month. What I was going through was the beginnings of depression. I would go down to the beach a lot, just sort of thinking, how was I going to get through every day of the rest of my life if it was going to be like that? It was everything that I sort of wanted to be a part of, and I couldn't be a part of it anymore. I don't know that organisation as big and as powerful as ARU perhaps did everything that they could have to support someone who was in strife, and I had to do it myself.
New research out of Perth suggests there could be another factor affecting footballers' emotional well-being.
Looking at West Australian Football League players, we found that when a player received a concussion, they were 8 times more likely to report depressive symptoms. So that's an increase of approximately 700%.
I got a fractured eye socket from a head collision. They found out I had delayed concussion. I was experiencing things like, out of the blue, just all of a sudden I just started emotionally crying. Had no reason to be crying, and I thought, what's happening here? So
overall, I think it emphasises the need to actually educate the players and clubs on the importance of this emotional health. We can't be keeping people blindsided.
The West Australian study builds on research from the American NFL into the long-term impacts of repeated concussions.
Well, what we're finding out is that concussion and these repetitive knocks may actually lead to, down the track, depression, as well as other Parkinson-like symptoms, which is now known as CTE.
If some kid came to me and said, I want to be a professional rugby player, and do you think it's a good idea? I'd have to say, well, maybe. maybe not. You want to really know what you're getting into here, and the fact is that we don't know. And the results that are trickling down are seriously concerning.
Today, the Rick Tyrrell Cup, it's the first official event, so enjoy it.
I've witnessed all of these men get together and connect with each other and share how they're feeling, so it's tragic that actually it takes someone to die for them to do that.
To the big fella, Rick Tyrrell. Rick Tyrrell.
Obviously there's first aid medics at every game, trainings, but you never see anyone who's trained in mental health.
The whole goal is to basically have people in every rugby club that are mental health first aiders. They have physios, they've got first aiders. We should have mental health first aiders in the club.
Our only purpose is really just to save one life.
Going and having a conversation about it was really the breakthrough point for me, and I wish that people experiencing this would take that step earlier.
I mean, I'm back and I love playing rugby now.
I'd just like to say to the players, thanks boys, you played with great spirit today. It was a fantastic game. And if we could ask Jack to come forward and receive the inaugural Rick Tyrrell trophy from his children.